That's when I'm like, whoa. Because I'm like, this is not of my father. This confirmed that I was his sheep. Now, yes, I may have been the one that wandered, but I was his sheep. Because giving my consent meant that I had to sacrifice my closeness to Jesus. That's what it felt like. It wasn't like, are you 18? No, it was like, are you willing to sacrifice your closeness to Jesus just to please yourself? I had to switch it up because the dookie green was not given. And y'all know my favorite color is verde, so I had to switch it to a different green. But hey, y'all, grab your coffee and let's chat. At this point, y'all should already know that if I have a black t-shirt on, I'm going to work. Yeah, because that's basically just my uniform, because black doesn't show how dirty it is. And I wish I could wear white, but you know, it's gonna show how dirty everything is. But I'm working a full shift today. I finally finished writing out my transcript, whatever you want to call it. Let me show y'all. Well, I'm not gonna say it's finished, but 90% of the way done. I feel like the rest that I could just, I feel like the rest I could say, you know what I'm saying? But let me show y'all. Can y'all see that? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like the hair, the watch and go was getting old, so I had to tie it up. But I gotta prepare and make breakfast. So yeah, and the thing is, I'm working a full shift today, y'all. I kind of be beat because I'm used to working part-time. So I think it's safe to drink 2 cups of coffee. Let's do it. So I'm gonna just make breakfast. I'm gonna take y'all with me. And then tonight we're gonna get to the conversation if I don't fall asleep on y'all. If I fall asleep on y'all, show some grace, okay? A girl was tired, but let's hope. I really do want to get to it today, but yeah. Y'all see, I just made a little, I'm scared to tip it over because I don't want it to spill out, but a little breakfast bowl. You know, it's given, it's a little breakfast bowl. You know, it's given, it's a little breakfast bowl. I'm gonna eat and edit and then be back with y'all, but I'm gonna be back with y'all after work. I know I'm looking a hot mess right now, but I had to show up for y'all. So I didn't end up filming yesterday because I was exhausted. I was up a little bit later than usual, just finishing up some things, but never got to record because I was tired. Not that I didn't have time, I just didn't have the energy. But I'm showing up today, so hey y'all. But yeah, I'm about to go on a run because I gotta take care of this kangaroo pouch, and I know that running doesn't take care of the kangaroo pouch. I know that that's kitchen work, but I'm a food baby. Anybody who knows me, is that my cat? Knows that I love food. So that kitchen is the hardest part, but I think it's crucial, and I gotta get that down. I like to run because it's relaxing, it's refreshing, it's cardio, so it's good for the heart. So that's what I'm about to do. I think the hardest part about working out is getting up to work out. Once you do the workout, you kind of feel good, and after the workout, you feel better. But the hardest part is getting up. So yeah, I know my eyebrows are bold, okay? Don't say nothing about it. Trying to collect some content, get some content for y'all, or whatever, and do this thing. So yeah, I know like the summer is basically here, but I'm preparing my summer body for 2026. I don't know why the date keeps getting pushed back. I don't know. But yeah, y'all bear with me. I'm gonna get to the video. Hopefully by then my thoughts are organized and all that junk, because you know how I'll be up here sometimes. Just a whole clutter, a whole mess. But yeah, I guess, what do I want to share this morning on this walk with y'all? I guess like this morning, just my morning meditation was just the fact that I'm like, I need to know how much that I need him, because When I think that I'm self-reliant and self-dependent, I lean on myself too much. And that I run into problems doing that, you know? So I need to know that I need him. That my very breath, the breath that's in my lungs, he supplies. So I depend on him for everything. Ooh, Lord have mercy. I can't do it on my own, but I'm gonna be back with y'all. The sun is shining today. I don't know. I might just do a walk and go back home. Mighty, mighty. Y'all, that cool down walk was crucial. Oh, jeez. I finished my run, refreshing, like I thought, but my legs feel like jelly. Yeah. So, I completed my run, and I literally sat here for about an hour, literally just scrolling on my phone. But what I'm gonna do is make me some breakfast, get ready. Yeah, that's pretty much it, honestly. So, I've just been procrastinating, honestly. So. See, but something about working out really encourages me. I know I'm about to leave, but something about working out really encourages me to eat right because it's like, ain't no way I'm gonna waste my workout. Like, I burn all these calories not to eat a donut. Today is not a cheat day. We put in all that work today. So we're gonna eat right because we're not gonna waste that workout. You get what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Anybody else like that? Okay. But honestly, you know what I'm about to start incorporating into my workout routine, y'all? Drew Hills. Y'all see them videos on social media where they be having them babies being disciplined and they gotta do Drew Hills? Tell me what you want. Hey y'all. First of all, if you hear any noise in the background, don't mind. I have my windows up. I have my window open. It feels like summer, alright? And we're not gonna be suffocating in here. But drum roll please. Finally, we have reached the point of the video where I talk about what I want to talk about. Now, if you have been a consistent viewer, if you've been following me for a while, and more recently actually, you would hear that in some of my videos I keep mentioning this friendship breakup. Well, today I'm kind of going to address more on that. Y'all, almost thought I had a cookie. It's a coaster. Ideally, I wanted to film this video either at the park or in the car because those spaces give a sense of privacy. Not saying that it is, the park is a public area, but it gives a sense of privacy, right? But we're here now. I wanted that sense of privacy, but I wanted to be in my room for real, so I was like, you can't get both. I'm just trying to set the vibe. I feel like I like this vibe a little bit better. And don't mind the outfit, okay? We went for comfort today because I was like, I'm gonna get cute. I'm gonna get glammed up. I just don't have it in me today. I didn't even do my makeup for real. I just did my eyebrows and put some lipstick on or whatever. But let's dive into it. Dear Diary, this is my story, or, a chapter of my story, I guess. A phase where I was trying to find love alone. Lord, now all my notifications want to come in. I do know that there are a few notes that I have on my device I'm recording on that I would like to talk about too, but hopefully I remember in the right timing. If you see me looking down or anywhere else that is not at you, that's because I have notes to keep me on track because it is a lot that I want to address, but I want to see if I could compact it, years into maybe a 35-minute video, if not shorter. Um, but in this series, I will be sharing a story basically of my history with relationships, more specifically with the opposite sex, with men. I think it's safe to say that I never had a healthy relationship with men. Either it was overly, like we can't just, overly sexual, or it was non existent. And over time, I feel that these relationships that I had with these individuals had really shaped the way that I saw myself and the way that I saw womanhood. Oh, there was something I wanted to say, but I forgot. And maybe it's also just my type in men. I think that at this time, just given upon my experience, just based on my experience alone, or the way that I saw myself, I definitely had a specific type in men. And I think that also contributed a lot to the way that I saw myself. It only fed into that more in a negative way, if that makes sense. Yeah, let's get into it. So I just want to offer a real brief recap, just in case you didn't see the video before, which basically I'm talking about my relationships with men before I was saved and before I was an adult. And if the traffic and the sound of cars going by bothers you, I apologize, but I'm not closing this window. If anything, I'm about to turn the fan on, okay? So there's gonna be traffic and a fan. I'm making this video like y'all asked for it. And the purpose of me just kind of sharing any experience that I go through, I hope that it encourages, it edifies, and my goal is out of all of this, not just to rant, not just to vent, not just to share my diary with y'all and document my experiences in video form, but it's also to, I want y'all to, at the end of the day, always, the goal is that you see Jesus, that you see God, that you know Him, okay? But this more so isn't like my traditional posts and videos where I talk about faith or videos that are faith-based. It's just my story. So, yeah, just wanted to put that out there. And I guess I titled this chapter of my life, the BC days, before Christ, before I was saved, and before I was an adult. We're just going to call this specific chapter, which, to sum it up, high school. So, no, to sum it up, freshman and sophomore year. Here for a good time, not a long time. And I think that says enough. Let's take a sip of our coffee, y'all. In this chapter of my life, all that I really cared about was boys, trouble, mess, and drama. My sister could attest to this because she was the one in this time of my life who was trying to pull me out of it. So she got herself in a lot of mess because she was attached to me. But that's another story for another day. That's going to get into my testimony of how I got saved, honestly. But high school was definitely the beginning of a new era for me. I feel like it was a time of self-discovery, learning myself, my personality, the things that I like. You get what I'm saying? Like back in fourth grade, all of us had the same friends. And I feel a part of losing friends is one, because you're finding yourself. So the older we get, the less that we have in common. When we're all young and toddlers, we want to color. You know what I'm saying? Do toddler stuff. But the older we get, we begin to branch off and find our individual personality in who we are. So a lot of friends drop off on the way, which should happen. But yeah, I was really getting to find myself and see what I like in all that type of junk, right? And before I knew love, I defined life differently from what I do now. Then, to live life meant to have as much fun as you possibly can before you turn to like the age of 30, something serious. You get what I'm saying? So this was a time to be daring, to get in trouble before consequences were too costly. And I feel, especially freshman year, I was living life. Not, to the extreme that some people do. I was living life, but I made sure I had boundaries. I'm going to live life inside this box here because I know that when I step out of this box, it might lead to something completely else that I don't want, right? So I live life inside of a box. I feel like it was a time I devoted myself to be young and dumb because I was young and dumb, but to explore and try new things as well. So that's what young Cece did. That's what freshman Cece did. She was messing with boys, getting into it with teachers, and that's a story time too. Almost got into a fight with this teacher. I remember her name. And you know what? Senior year, I ended up loving her. She was very kind, compassionate, and I was honestly pushing and testing her boundaries. So I now understand looking back. But then I was a little bit of a hothead, had a little bit of an attitude. Yeah. Yeah, but that's for another time. But I was being messy, definitely an instigator, but not to the extreme that my sister was, okay? But I definitely was an instigator, okay? But I had to be low key with it. You get what I'm saying? Like, I was low key with it. And yeah, but I was looking for trouble. So, I said before that to live life before knowing love, and when you hear me say love, I am speaking of a man. And to be more specific, that man's name is Jesus, God of the Bible that I read. Okay? Amen. But I give myself a lot of room to make mistakes and to learn. And I'm starting to think now that I gave myself a little bit too much room to make mistakes. But now, to live life means to die. Not in a natural sense, but to your desires, to the things that you want. And in his word, it describes the man God as the way, the truth, and the life. This is coming from his own lips, I believe. I would have to pull it up. My Bible's down there, but I know it's in the Bible. But how else can you live life without life himself? My BC days, I didn't have a definition to life because I didn't know life. Life being God, the God of all things living. I didn't know him, so my definition of life was whatever I made it to be. Now I can define life, and I define it as abiding in Christ, life himself. I don't. Well, I can't say that I could define life, but I feel like I have more clarity and it makes more sense. I feel that now, giving my life to Christ, that life has meaning. Life has purpose. He gave life meaning and purpose. I cannot say, I'm going to sit up here, I lied. I cannot say that I could define life. I don't know. But life now has meaning and purpose. That's what I do know. Okay? Amen, somebody. But being transformed through his truth made it easy to understand what St. Paul meant when he was saying, to live is Christ and to die is gain. Living life meant abiding in sin before I met love, but after I met love. Living life meant dying to sin and walking into the Spirit. Each day is a day of surrender. But quarantine has served as a period of consecration, and I was falling in love with love. I began to develop healthy spiritual habits, routinely praying and spending time in the Lord's presence. When I say constantly seeking his face, I mean that. Like literally. In my Bible, all day, every day. And it wasn't that I wanted anything in return, but to know him and to love him more and more. In finding love, I found myself, beginning to redefine myself as well. No longer being lustful or promiscuous, or, in a way vulgar. But being made righteous through faith in Jesus Christ, because we are made righteous. That's the only way. I promise you, he is the way, the truth, and the life. There is no other way to be made righteous or to be holy outside of him. And you could try. You could try it, but let me save you from unnecessary toil and frustration and struggle. There's only one way. And if you are looking to be made righteous, look nowhere else but to him. Hello, somebody. So I was being made righteous through my faith in him, and I was being set apart. No longer did I entertain the things of before. Neither did I desire those things. My heart was literally changing. It was changing. He changed my heart. Taking a heart of stone and making it a heart of flesh. So I do believe that the Lord could still do that to other people, no matter how hard it seems like their heart and their head is. But it wasn't my desire to be touched or caressed or to chase after boys, but to know the Father and to be known by him. So quarantine for me was a time spent in my word. Now, fast forward a little bit, the world opens back up, and it is my senior year of high school. It was difficult. I definitely felt the tension and the temptation to fall back to who I was. And for that reason, it was that I'm this new being in old familiar spaces, mind you. When I went to Golden Valley, that's the high school I attended in Bakersfield. I no longer live there. But that was before I was saved. So when I went back, it's like I kind of feel those old, like, hey, see, you reminisce and you be like, oh, I remember that. You know what I'm saying? So it was definitely that tension of like wrestling with the old wrestling with the new. So moving, it gave me a chance to start over without that tension, because now I'm in this area that I don't even remember, moving back to where I've been. I don't remember, I don't know these people. The only people that I know here is my family. So I feel it gave me a clean slate. It made it easier to embrace this newness without feeling tempted to fall back into old ways because I'm in an area that's familiar. So it made it easy to start over again. So now we're in this time area where I was jobless and an adult, and in the beginning I was still spending majority of my time in my word. I began to build my online platform, and I was growing more consistent when it came to creating content. As said before, I initially started my ministry on Snapchat. Then I remember getting Instagram and moved over there. And I can remember my first post, man. I believe I was wearing it was a green, black, and white striped dress. Fresh, big chopped hair. Which it was chopped. Like, it was chopped. No, I was like chopped. For real. But I began to build my online platform and I grew very consistent with that. Also, while balancing meditation and spending time with the Lord. In this time period, I met this really nice dude, and we're gonna call him the love of my life because he was. Um, this was the dude that I saw forever with. Anybody who knows me, if you know me personally, since 14, I had my mind made up. I'm not going to date. I'm not a relationship type of person. I don't want children. What I want and the way that I saw my future, it was just me, myself, and I with my dog in my house. But he was a true godly man, y'all. And when I say these were the best days of my life, I'm talking about this was better than Disney as a kid. You get what I'm saying? And I can even say that still to this very moment. And I've done great things. Like, I like cruise ships, all that junk. Very, like, loved it. Loved it. Everything about the experience, too. Except for sometimes they'd be picky and they'd be like, you can't be on the Serenity deck. Excuse you, I'm 20. Get out of my face. But, they're doing their job, so you let them do their job. But listen, I'm about to be 21, trying to kick me off. I'm gonna have my margarita in my hand. Okay, you tried it. Let me get back on track. Say get back on track. Thank you. Um, but I have never experienced a relationship as such out of my whole history with dealing with men. I've never experienced a relationship like the one I had with the love of my life. Outside of family, yeah, never experienced that from the opposite sex at all. It was wholesome, and this was legit the first relationship outside of family too. I'm like, this is Christ centered. Our foundation of this relationship was built upon the Lord, and this is why I wouldn't fail in that time. And we'll get to the fall eventually, but this is why I didn't fail. And this whole time in this relationship, this man was building me up, my confidence, my character, building me up as a woman of Christ, even. So I was like on top of the world. Couldn't nobody tell me nothing. But each day it was just a challenge to be a better woman, and I wanted to be better when I was with him. I did. I desired to be better. I desired to be different, and I even desired to be closer to God. I feel like through him I was able to see different expressions of the Lord, and I'm like, this is awesome. This is awesome. I'm grateful. And it was at this time actually where I'm like, I prayed for a friend immediately. Boom. Like he fell from the sky. You get what I'm saying? So we're growing and developing a relationship and a friendship. We end up dating. It was just, it was all butterflies every single day. And I thought someday the butterflies will wear off. I thought someday the honeymoon phase will fade away. Not with him. Every day was like a honeymoon. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. I loved it, and I was in love. Y'all, me, Cece, the hard-headed, hard heart person that I was, in love with a man, dating. I surprised myself. I myself was shocked. But eventually, as things began to settle down, insecurity came. Yeah, stupid insecurity. Um, and it was this idea that I entertained that he's too good for me. He's too good for me. It's not too good to be true, because I believe in a lot of crazy things. I have faith, but he's too good for me. And I felt like, as time grew, things began to get more real, feelings began to get heavier for each other. Um, I felt like it was really this fear. I'm like, I'm gonna hinder him in his future. It was this fear that I'm gonna disappoint him. And I did not want to do that. I wanted him to live his desired future. I didn't want to disappoint. So I was in a rush to do it. This was like maybe the Monday before Valentine's in 2024. I called things off. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm sorry. So I basically kind of sabotaged the whole relationship because I was scared to disappoint him. Come to find out, the very thing that I was scared of happened. So I'm like, could that have all been avoided? I don't know. But God's love for sure was definitely expressed through him, even post breakup. You know what I'm saying? His character didn't change, not at all. And that would really made me be like, if I didn't believe that God was real, if I didn't believe he was real, that would have made me believe he was real, because there was a lot of stuff that had happened in between, okay? There was a lot of stuff that happened in between. After the breakup, I think I really did fall into a very dark place. I'm like, whoa, I haven't been here before. And I thought that when I was 14, I reached my lowest spot, but you don't know that that's not your lowest spot until you get lower. And that's where I reached. I'm like, whoa, yeah, hold up. Now I want to take time to kind of just draw out a timeline and give things more order and more structure. So 2018, these were the BC days. Living life meant to have fun. 2019 and 2021, my definition of life and love was redefined, giving a new meaning to it all. God gave a new meaning to it. I finally found the man love. I finally found love, y'all. And his name is Jesus. I knew his name. Um, but it was definitely a new era in time for me, besides COVID shutting the world down. It was a period of consecration and separation, a time to seek God and his heart. 2022 to 2023, the best days. That's what I titled this section. The best days. I met the love of my life, the one that I saw forever with. End up dating, feelings growing, faith growing as well, and the relationship encouraged me to be a better woman. I was constantly being poured into. I saw a future with this man. Then insecurity crept in. 2024, the fall, or the falling apart. I started to entertain the idea that he was too good for me. I couldn't have asked for a more perfect man. And truthfully, as secure that I felt with him, my safe place, that insecurity grew, y'all. I'm like, he's too good for me. Like, I can't say he's perfect because nobody is perfect except Jesus, but I, you could tell he was a man of God. I don't know what else to say. I'm like, is there a flaw? Like, is there a flaw? Do you have flaws? At least one? Maybe two? Maybe two flaws. But I'm like, do you really? Man, you get what I'm saying? Man. But I never felt this way before with anybody else. Most times when it came to my relationship with men, I don't even want to sound cocky when saying this. I'm just like, they ain't in my league. Now the tables have turned. Being with this man, I'm like, I'm out of his league. Whoa. So it kind of made me, whenever I start to feel insecurity, I shrink and push. I get real pushy. I'm like, yeah, we're not gonna do that. But I had never felt, that's like my first time experiencing those types of feelings. And not only that, just speaking on the breakup, but I feel like our long-term goals weren't exactly in sync or aligned with each other at the time, at least. Because again, like what said before, I wasn't a relationship person. So letting a whole man into my life and into my heart, all I wanted was him. And I think at that time, family was like a non-negotiable for him. And I'm like, but I want him to have that family. But right now, I don't want family. I'm like, hey, maybe a kid, but I'm like, is that for me or for him? You get what I'm saying? Because having a kid just because you want to be with him, now you're a bad mother because you didn't ask for it. I didn't want to be that. Listen, I know that I'm selfish and I'm stingy, so I know what's gonna work for me. At least, right now in my right now mind, like that wasn't gonna work. So I saw that potentially we were going in different directions in the future. So I called things off and it broke my heart. And when I tell you the thought of it breaking his heart broke my heart even more because I'm like, I loved him. I never loved somebody like I love myself. Like in the Bible, First Samuel in that book, right, you see a relationship with David and Jonathan. And they describe Jonathan loving David as much as he loved his own soul. They use words like knitted together. That's how I felt like with him. I'm like, I love him like I love my own soul too. So to know that he was hurt about that decision broke me even worse about me just being hurt in general. I'm like, ooh, ouch. So I was hurt on behalf of him. But I thought really if I removed myself that he would have hope of finding what he wanted. Yeah, but after that breakup, I fell into a depressed state for sure. And even after the breakup, I completely changed. When I say completely changed, just believe me, okay? Like half the content and half the stuff that even happened, I can't even share. I cannot. And I will not. I could testify about it, but I can't share. No, it was bad. Um, Even at this time after the breakup, my appetite even shifted. So let's talk about post breakup. Now this category is post breakup. Everything went left. But not too long after, I started talking to another dude. And actually, this individual I had met through my ex, or the love of my life. Yeah, I think it was like a live video or something. I'm like, okay, he's kind of cool. But I didn't know how to get over this whole breakup situation except to move on. So that's what I did. I didn't want to feel because feeling felt bad. So I'm like, I'm just going to move on. Right now, we're just going to distract and, we're going to live life how we did the BC days. We're going to go back to that definition of living life because we're done with Jesus right now. Just a temporary break. Just a temporary break. So feelings started to grow for this individual. And, what also made me attracted to him was that he was also a Christian. I'm like, oh, okay. I believe in that live video they're talking about. It was a topic. I know that we were talking about, I can't remember. Oh, I believe we were talking about, what it means to be saved or something along the lines of that. So I meet this new individual. He's a Christian. He has a cool vibe or whatever. I'm feeling him. He's feeling me. We're getting to know each other. But shortly after that, things went left again. Things went left after the introduction and the first impression. At this point, after this, at this point, all that I wanted really was to be loved and someone to love. What I wanted was a friend and someone to be a friend to. But I forsake all my standards and went with whatever felt good. So it kind of really. It's me again. Let me just clear this. Let me sit up a little bit. But let me clear this one thing up. In no ways am I saying that he was beneath my standards. Actually, the man that was introduced to, the man that I thought I knew, checked every box off. Humor, attractive, funny, man of God, all of this, checked it all off. But the man that was revealed to me later on was definitely beneath my standards. But the thing was, I wasn't who I was later on. I was a whole different person. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. Just made me settle. I'm like, hey, he's cool, he's good. I mean, I was still learning him. I didn't know much about him except for that he was a Christian and he had a nice vibe. Done deal. I'm like, we in it. We in it. Let's see where things go. I don't know if I don't even remember, but I don't know if I was looking for a relationship at that time. Because I don't think after the breakup I was really looking for that. I think really what I was looking for was, it sounds bad putting it like that, but a distraction. It sounds bad putting it like that, I know. So recovering from the breakup, really, I felt lonely, y'all. I was missing the conversations and the laughs. I would spend nights going through DMs and photos of just us and reminiscing, and I had this box. I had to take everything. I took everything down. Really making impulsive decisions for real. Not thinking at all. One thing I regret is this blanket behind me. I was so done and just fed up, y'all. I took the blanket and I just cut it. So no, I'm not as conceited as I may seem. It was a blanket of us. But I cut it out because I'm like, I'm done. Forget it. But I still have a box under my bed where everything is stored. But yeah, I definitely felt lonely. And reading God's word in this time really didn't seem to help. If anything, it was making me more irritated. It kind of took me back to the time where I was at my lowest, being what? Back in school. And then I remember like feeling very agitated when my mom was using scripture to encourage me. Now, looking back now, I was so glad. I'm so glad for it because I could see love all over it. But in the moment, it's like everything is getting on my nerves. And this isn't helping. So, being where emotions were high, reading the word did not. I'm like, this is bull crap, and it's not bull crap. I'm just trying to let y'all know where my mind was at. Around this time, I was also thinking heavily about my relationship with God, and I grew very, very frustrated with him because I was feeling as though he didn't answer my prayers, and I was frustrated of crying, and not crying in the sense that I'm sad, but it's like a holy frustration. I'm like, I need this, I want this, God, I need fruitfulness, this is that. I'm just crying because of that. But I felt discouraged heavily and I felt ignored because I'm like, I don't see the fruit of my prayers. The seeds that I've sown ain't nothing growing. So what's going on? Like, what's really going on behind the scenes? What's going on? I really do think my big mistake was that I'm just trying to be too involved. Another mistake was that I'm thinking God is moving at my timeline. Right? I think he's moving at my pace. No. He's sovereign, amen? But emotions were definitely high after the breakup. And I remember telling friends I didn't really want to do this Christian stuff anymore. And after some time debating, I made the executive decision that I'm going to take a break. It was foolish. It was a foolish one. And I thought that that would be a solution. Taking a break from the Lord who saved me. You dumb devil. You dumb devil, you. So again, around this time, post breakup, emotions are high, taking a break from the Lord, I began to really know this dude, and I'm growing even more attracted to him. He's humorous, he's friendly, so I was committed to knowing him more and more. I'm back again, but yo, like after listening to me recording this, hold up. But after listening to me recording this, I'm starting to find out like not only did I not have a healthy relationship with men, I didn't have a healthy relationship with myself. Men weren't the only problem. I too was the problem. I don't know when it happened. I do know when it happened. I'm not going to lie. It was, I guess he proposed a question, on Instagram. I don't want to throw out too much business, but on Instagram, you have your general stories and then you have your close friend story. And he had made a post saying like, hey, who wants to be added to close friends? I said, hey, put me up in there. You know what I'm saying? Um, Nothing that it wasn't anything that I thought it was going to be. It was actually very different. The content in there was different. Because I was assuming that people are like me. For my close friends, I don't post anything inappropriate in nature. I just post stuff that only my inner circle is more likely to see. You get to see more of my personality. You get to see more of that junk, crazy CC or whatever. Yeah, so that's what I thought it was, right? I thought wrong. I thought wrong. But conversations after that then took a shift. From one, getting to know each other, and then getting to know each other turned to flirting. Then flirting matured to sexting, and then sexting matured to sending provocative photos to each other and lusting after one of another. So you can see that this relationship is going downhill pretty fast. Um, I didn't know that I lost myself, y'all, until I tried to get back to myself. I'm like, whoa, yeah, I didn't know. And I didn't know that I was slowly slipping away day by day, the more that I entertained this junk. But I was really attracted to him, and what really kept me was that he made me feel good. So I'm like, I'm cool to stay right here. I didn't even remember anything about a breakup. Breakup what? So I remained. I did. Um, I introduced another side to him that I didn't even know I had in myself. Again, a shocker to myself. The first shocker was that I was dating. The second shocker was that, whoa, this is you? You could do that? Girl. But I had completely lost myself and I had completely changed. When I tell you I have never been this woman a day before this. Now don't get me wrong. I had always had this side to me. Don't get me wrong. Okay, freshman year, you know what I'm saying? I'm letting this and that type of junk. Freshman junk, right? But I always drew a line somewhere. We're not going to do nudes, we're not getting naked, we're not sexting. Nothing. I'll flirt. We'll flirt. We'll flirt. We'll tell jokes and be funny and stuff. But none of that more intimate stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like right where it got to the point where you're like, you want to get in my pants? We're gonna draw that line right there. We can do anything else but that. Cause guess who's not gonna be a mother at 14? Me. Not saying anything is wrong with that. I just knew it wasn't for me. I was not suitable. I was not fit to be a mother. I don't have a job. I'm not gonna put that pressure on my mom to pick up the slack for me because I was being how I was being. Matthew 16:26. For what profit is it to a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Or what will a man give in exchange for his soul? Yeah, so I gave a lot for exchange for my soul. I lost myself, y'all. Like I really, really, I did. I even shared this post on my Instagram when I was aware that I was slipping away. There we go. So this is the post that I made when I'm like, I think I'm slipping away, but I'm not too sure if I'm slipping away because I'm still here. I'm still sensitive to God, semi-sensitive to God, right? So I put, it will never be worth it to exchange God's presence for a moment of pleasure. At what cost? To gain satisfaction but lose sensitivity. His presence is the sweetest thing. Do not cast me away from your presence, and do not take your Holy Spirit from me. That was the sentiments of my heart at that time. I knew at this moment I exchanged God's everlasting presence and nearness for a moment of pleasure, which is this moment is when I was entertaining this relationship with this man. My situation that I was in really had produced that post. It was an inspiration behind it because I'm like, wow, nothing is better than his presence. But then it was hard to get back after slipping away. I continued actually to pull away, which inspired another thing. That willful disobedience desensitizes you from the Spirit of God, which that is a truth, y'all. But the whole dynamic of this relationship and friendship with him completely changed, even with other men that I engaged with. Like, it was sad. Like, at some point reflecting, I'm like, it's very sad to know that they knew my body before they knew my name. At this point I was far from God's presence, but I can remember vividly saying in the midst of me running away, in the midst of me turning away and turning my back to him, turning my face from him. In the middle of all of this, y'all, I can remember saying to myself, I have never heard God's voice so clearly. And it was so weird to me. Like, I felt like now that I'm far, I could discern his voice from the enemy. Now that I'm far, it's like I could hear you now. But when I was in your presence, why aren't you talking to me? Why can't I hear you? Why does it feel like you're silent and you're ignoring me? Now I'm far, you want to talk. That's what it felt like. I also remember too with one of these individuals, and I'm like, I ain't never heard the devil speak, but I'm sure the devil manifested when he said this. And it was, I believe that a perverted version of encouragement is enticement. You know, enticement is just encouragement in the wrong direction. But I remember he had said, there's a right way to do wrong. Excuse me? That's when I'm like, whoa. Because I'm like, this is not of my father. This confirmed that I was his sheep. Now, yes, I may have been the one that wandered, but I was his sheep. That's what this confirmed. Because I knew his voice, and that did not sound like him. Because God would never say, there's a right way to do wrong. Go ahead and sin, my child, as long as you do it the right way. God would never. He would never. So that's why I'm like, easy. That's that slithering serpent. In the moment, I'm like, you know what? It didn't sound right. So I do remember kind of being hesitant, but I still entertained that junk in the long run. Terrible, I know. But even in my pursuit to find love alone, love was chasing me this whole time and I ignored him. And at first, God's warning was kind, but then it grew more aggressive. The further that I went, the more aggressive his warning kind of was. The more aggressive his tone with me was, the more aggressive he dealt with me. And I know he was dealing with me, not maybe in the typical way, but it was definitely using his sovereign hand. This is what I believe. He used his sovereign hand and put certain situations that's like, hey, turn back to me. Turn back to me. You're going to be uncomfortable here because you're running from me. And not saying that comfort is a measure of how close or far you are to God, or that he always puts you in uncomfortable positions because you're wrong. No, there's sometimes you're in God and abiding in him and you're in uncomfortable positions too. But that's another topic for another day. I was running, but his love was still there, his mercy every day, and I overlooked it. But yeah, something had transpired and I have never been more humiliated ever in my life. But this situation had caused me to seek God again. So yeah, I was so embarrassed, y'all. I'm like, oh my gosh. Even after what had transpired happened, I hated myself. I still love these individuals, and still to this day I love them. But the way that I saw myself, hated myself. I never really struggled with self-esteem and confidence. But after this, hated myself. Like I'm like so for real. But after what transpired, it really pushed me to seek God again because I didn't know where else to go, what else to do. I don't trust these people because clearly when I trusted them, this is what they do to me. So I sought God again. And I'm like, wow, at least, he was still there with his arms open, I sinned and I ran from you and did all of this stuff and you still welcome me. So thank you for your mercy. At this time, I was talking to multiple dudes. Yeah, but the one that I trusted most, with the most intimate parts of me, had broke that trust. I guess I could share some detail. I'm sorry, mama. Um, which she warned me of everything. If she knows it's stupid, don't do it. But I was a stupid girl, and I did what I wanted to do with the liberty that I had. It's like the more freedom she gave me, the more I forsake the structure that she built. I'm telling you. Like, I'll give this little example. When I was a child, and it was Halloween or anything like that, my mom's like 3 pieces of candy. We had 1 hour of time on social media or consuming internet, and then you'd be like, okay, it seems like you're a little strict. 3 pieces is 4 pieces of candy gonna give me a cavity, but then you're saying, she's, so I kind of like, with more liberty and with more freedom, I forsake that structure that she had gave. And if I kept that structure that she had started us off with, us being me and my siblings, I'm telling you, none of this would have had happened. I'm telling you. But I forsake everything she taught, down to the model prayer, because she's a woman of God, y'all. Yeah, I forsake it all. But what had happened was, we're in this group chat. The dude I trusted with the most intimate parts of me, for some reason, I don't know what necessarily triggered him, but he was saying that I did the love of my life a wrong way. And I can admit, the only thing that I feel I had did wrong was that I wasn't sensitive to his heart after the breakup. Now, I felt like I didn't owe him anything because I'm not no longer his girlfriend. I no longer hold that title, so I'm not obligated to do this. But as a friend or as a Christian, you should still consider your neighbors, their feelings. If you know that this is going to cause them to stumble, be considerate of it. And I wasn't being considerate of that. So I will say that was my fault. So emotionally, that would have been tormented to endure. I understand. That's the way that I acted. You know what I'm saying? A man, you're still getting over feelings. Y'all both broke up. Y'all getting over feelings, and you're in his face entertaining a relationship with another dude. I didn't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? But then again, it was that battle of, I don't have to do this, be considerate of his feelings. But then it was also a, you don't have to stay type of thing. That's how my mind was like. So while he's saying, accusing me of the way you did him was wrong, I'm like, the way he did himself was wrong too. But let me put this finger up. I didn't understand love until I got done that way. when when it's like, you can't leave because you love that person. I didn't get it, and now I'm getting it. I'm like, my mind, y'all, was not in the wrong. I mean, was not in the. My mind was not in the right place. So yeah, I did do him wrong, you know, and I'm gonna own up to it. I did a lot of people wrong in this time. It's a short period, but it was a long time. But it was still in a short time that I changed. But I did a lot of people wrong. What transpired definitely attacked my confidence and esteem, and I felt very disgusted, guilty, and ashamed. I liken this period of my life, like, I give periods of my life or chapters of my life titles. And this one I found quite similar to the woman caught in adultery, where they're like, hey, this woman has sinned, let's stone her, right? And Jesus, he gets into the sand and he writes his message in the sand, right? And eventually all of her accusers, they flee. Nobody casted a stone, Yeah, and I kind of had expectations that God was going to save me like that, but he didn't. But all of this was, I would say, he used it to turn me to him. I'm not saying that he sent it, but I'm saying he most definitely used it to turn me back to him. But yeah, so anyways, I was exposed, and I'm like, wow, this Negro here. And I was definitely wrestling, because I'm like, I could do the same, but I'm not going to. And it's always like, in my heart, I'm like, I could do the same, but I don't have it in me to do that. You know what I'm saying? But I definitely was like, wow, that's how it is. And went back to him. Yeah. Let's sip our coffee right there. That was a red flag. There was many red flags that I had ignored, and I ignored for so long, and then I grew a relationship with these people and grew and genuinely loved them. So it made it hard for me to leave. Anybody who knows me, I am a firm believer in reconciliation. So if it's possible for a relationship to be restored and fixed, by all means, you know what I'm saying? And I have a hard time of letting people go. If you come in my life, I kind of want you to stay until we're gray and old, So that's my struggle given this whole situation. Yeah, I was so embarrassed. It was crazy. This is what I feel like this whole time. I have scripture for it. It was Proverbs 20 and 30. This is what I feel like the Lord was doing. So no, he didn't put me in this situation, but he used this situation to turn me back to him. Anything that I had endured, like I'm like, this depression that I'm feeling isn't depression. This is a result and a consequence of my disobedience. I feel like most things that I have endured was because, how do I want to say it? It was God, turning me to him. Proverbs 20 and 30 says that sometimes it takes a painful experience to make us change our ways. And that's what it was. I had to go through a painful experience for me to change my ways. Because other than that, I would have still been doing the same thing, right? So it had to be painful. And I honestly now could thank God for it. It had to be painful for me to change my ways. That's what I was experiencing though. I was too embarrassed to all of that. I'm like, God, I don't know. I don't know what to do. Come to me, my child. So it really did force me back into the prayer closet, back into seeking him. It took a painful experience. Yeah, he didn't put me in that situation, but he used it. So only then was I aware that God was pulling me to him. But once again, I fell into a depressed spell. I couldn't get over the guilt and shame that I felt because of the things that I had done, because I knew it wasn't right. It wasn't godly. I'm wearing Christ's name, but I'm not representing Christ. You get what I'm saying? This is why his name is profane, because we come and show up as Christians, whole time being carnal and worldly and lukewarm. We're Christians in clubs, it looks weird. And my sister, she put it in an image for me. She's like, have you ever saw, I don't want this to come off wrong, but people who wear the hijabs, if that's what you call it, and they're fully covered or whatever, and they're at a bar, like it kind of looks out of place. I don't know if that's a cultural or religious thing, so please excuse my ignorance. But say you do something for religious purposes. Say you're a pastor dressed up in your garments or whatever, but you're in the club. It looks a hot mess. But I was feeling so low, got to the point that I was like, I'm guilty. I feel guilty for even being saved. Like, Lord, why would you save me? What did you see now or in the future that's like, I want to keep her? I want to keep her. What do you? Because obviously I keep sinning against you. So what is it that you want to keep sustaining me? Maybe you love me that much, you just want to give me a chance. Maybe you don't see anything. But if you did see anything, what is it that you see? And I'm like, literally wrestling with it because I didn't see anything. I was like, if anything, Lord, you could take me now and today because I don't see things changing. Literally. Don't think I'm playing. But in this time period, too, it was like I wanted help. It's just I was too ashamed to ask for help. Because if I went to my mom, I'm like, I'm going to have to open up about everything. There's no beating around the bush or nothing. I was too embarrassed to do that. For sure. And I'm like, maybe a therapist, but I don't really trust people like that. I don't really like talking to people like that. I don't really like y'all people. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it was a lot of that. Okay, this is something else too. This is after the fall that I wanted to talk about in my relationship with men. So the dude that I met after my ex that I started talking to, feelings were growing or whatever. And so I introduced a new part of myself to him, but he introduced some things to me. And it's sad because I met the most freakiest, nastiest people, those who are ministers in the church. Myself included. I don't minister in a church, but I do believe that I have some type of ministry. But myself included when I say this. I met the nastiest people inside the house of God. I'm not excluding myself. I too at this time was nasty. That's how I attracted these people. That's how these people were attracted to me. Um, but it's sad and it's sickening, and we could get better together. I can recall the time that I gave consent to sin and the fear that I felt. I remember me and this dude was talking back and forth, and we sexting or whatever, and he sends a video. Whoa, whoa! I mean, these people being fruitful and multiplying. I had no problem with nudity and that stuff. I just didn't want to see that. Like it could be us, but I didn't want to see that. And excuse me, y'all, for being nasty, but I'm just saying. That's my mind at the time. Yeah, I remember the first time logging onto like a porn site. I'm like, that's weird. It's like if you're 18 or older, you have to give consent to get in there. But it didn't feel like this is the notes that are on this phone. Um, having to give consent, it wasn't like, oh, I'm doing this because I'm grown. It was like, it felt like you're giving your consent. I need my notes, y'all. Hold up, y'all, because I need my notes. Okay, I'm back, but it was less of an age matter and more of a matter of conviction, because giving my consent meant that I had to sacrifice my closeness to Jesus. That's what it felt like. It wasn't like, are you 18? No, it was like, are you willing to sacrifice your closeness to Jesus just to please yourself? So I couldn't do it. I did not have the strength to do it, y'all. I was like, heck no, I can't do it. And that fear lasted for a very good minute. I keep talking to this dude, and it's like slowly that fear was just disappearing. So then, send another thing. I'm like, let me try it again. And I gave consent, and boom, send. Um, there's more to it. There's more to it all. But this is a very lengthy video. So yeah. After that point, I really, really felt like it got real dark and real low. I think really what caused me to stumble was unchecked curiosity. I was curious about a lot of things that I didn't know. And instead of inquiring or taking it to God, I'm like, let me figure this out alone. And definitely didn't work. I got to such a low point that self-harm was definitely involved. Yeah. But God saved me, y'all, and turned it around. And I'm still recovering because it was a great fall, and I'm still recovering. But yeah, I think I'm gonna end it here because this is probably an hour long, and of course when I edit it, it's gonna be shorter. But yeah, I hope it's clear and I hope it makes sense. I get that I was a little bit all over the place, but yeah, I might do a more detailed part another time, but not this time. Um, y'all be well. Peace. But I do want us to know literally the importance it is of loving God, y'all. Is going to save you. Not only loving Him, well, if you love Him, you fear Him. And as said before, I feel that many of us don't fear Him because we don't know Him. So get to know Him. And I promise you, fear and knowledge is like this. They love each other, y'all. Fear and knowledge, they're married. The more you know, the more you would fear Him. Because He is a God to be feared. And fearing Him will save you. But also to love Him. Because when you love Him, you don't let your desires get in the way of your relationship with Him. So yeah, love Him and fear Him and know Him. I'm going to end on that note because it is my goal not just to rant, but I want you to see Jesus too. But He saved me and He is still changing me to this day. Pretty much it. I'm going to wrap this up, y'all. I'm going to see y'all when I see y'all next time, okay? I got to edit this and all that junk. He's working on me every day. Every day. Surrender to that process of sanctification. Yeah, it's going to be worth it. It's never worth it. Man, was I stupid. Please learn from me. Please learn from me. Oh gosh, because man, was I a silly child. And God still clung to me. He could have let me die. But He said, live. Okay. And He said, and sin no more. What did He tell? What did He tell the lady who was caught in adultery and, her accusers fled? What did He say? Sin no more? What did He say at the end? Let me pull that up. I feel like that's what I want to close with. I'm telling you, freedom is made available to you because Christ had paid the price on Calvary. We're going to close out. We're going to close out. I'm going to wrap this up, y'all. Because I know y'all got short attention spans. Because y'all so used to Reels and TikToks. Y'all don't know how to sit down for an hour lecture. Oh, I have it highlighted. But Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. Now early in the morning He came again into the temple, and all the people came to Him, and He sat down and taught them. Then the scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman caught in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they said to Him, Teacher, this woman was caught in adultery, in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what do you say? This they said, testing Him that they might find something to accuse Him of. But Jesus stooped down and wrote on the ground with his finger, as though he did not hear. So when they continued asking him, he raised himself up and said to them, "He who is without sin among you, let him throw a stone at her first." And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. Then those who heard it, being convicted by their conscience, went out one by one, beginning with the oldest, even to the last. And Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. When Jesus had raised himself up and saw no one but the woman, he said to her, "Woman, where are those accusers of yours? Has no one condemned you?" She said, "No one, Lord." And Jesus said to her, "Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more." Jesus spoke to them again, saying, "I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life." And that's where we're closing this. Okay? All right. Peace.